Hello fellow old schoolers, and welcome back to the tournament of the Long Island Cup 3.0. It's the quarterfinals and I'm coming up against a quick-white-weenie deck. And we'll go over the deck ticks real quick here, and as usual I'll put down a timestamp in a comment below so you can just go to that particular timestamp for the first round of the match if these deck ticks are not your thing. Let's go. And this is my opponent for the quarterfinals here. A quick-white-weenie deck following the recipe there, but with a few twists and tweaks here and there. And this deck is completely unpowered, and it won as the best unpowered deck of the tournament and has been cutting through fully powered decks like a knife through butter here. So we have the weenie creatures here, 4 Savannah Lions, I think it's 3 Benali Sheriffs, 4 Mesa Picasai, we have the Pikemen, and we also have 4 White Knights, a couple of Sarah Angels, and there's that Knights of Thorn right there. This is supplemented with Softer Plowshares and Disenchants, and 4 Crusades, and a Castle. We have a Balance, and we have the Chaos Orb. As for lands, we have the Plains, of course, and we have 4 Mistress Factories, a Library of Alexandria, a Strip Mine, and then it makes use of Caracas and Pendlehaven. And I really like this tech. It's unusual. I've only seen Pendlehaven before in the green critters decks like Stompy or like Burnham, but it makes sense in this deck, right? There's a bunch of 1/1s, and that Pendlehaven can be used for colorless mana and then pump them +1/+2. And the Caracas, well, that can be used either to as a plains, but just also to summon opponent legends. And as Pendlehaven is a legendary land, I suppose you can use the Pendlehaven to pump a creature, then unsummon your own Pendlehaven using your Caracas, play it again, and then pump your creature one more time as it comes into play untapped. So you can like boost it +2/+4 if you have the Caracas and the Pendlehaven out at the same time. So a nice little combination right there hidden in this deck. We also have a couple of Armageddons here. That's usually the win con for this deck, where you'll put out a bunch of creatures and then cast Armageddon just to bomb the board state and put the opponent behind, and then run him over with your all your weenie creatures. As for sideboard, we see it here. A full playset of Blackwise and Angst of Mithra. Particularly those 2 will work well with Armageddons, because their opponent will have taken so much damage before the Armageddon gets cast that it'll really hurt him to put out more lands under a couple of Angst of Mithra there. We have the 4 Divine Offerings, likely against the current meta here, as said previously, against the robots and the decks and stuff like that. And then we have a couple of City in a Bottle. They will be great against Composition A, I feel, and a Spirit Link that will be great as well. So yeah, very straightforward, but with a bunch of tweaks here. I'll go over Composition A real quick, and then we can talk a bit about this matchup here. This is Composition A. Composition A is like a hybrid, primarily a mid-range deck in combination with a Dreams combo deck. So it's built around a mono-black core with all the Hypnotic Specters, juzams, Sinkia Vampires, and other mid-range creatures. And then it uses a couple of Underworld Dreams in combination with Wheel of Fortune and Time Twister, sometimes Brain Geyser as well, for huge bursts of damage. Full removal package with Softer Plowshares and Disenchant and Balance from white. Obviously the Demonic Tutor and Mind Twist is in there, and yeah, fully powered. And there's the 4 factories as well. And it makes use, it can trigger Route of Lane Destruction, having 3 sinkholes main deck and a 4th sinkhole in its sideboard. Speaking of sideboard, we have it here. The 4 Divine Offerings, just like a quick white deck against the current meta with all the artifacts. We have a couple of Sushis, so that we could go and get 4 Sushis after sideboard. 3 Spirit Links, 1 sinkhole, 1 Lightning Bolt, and a couple of blue and a couple of red blasts rounds out the sideboard strategy here. Usually Composition A has a lot more burn and is therefore ideally suited to handle aggro decks like the current opponent, but this version of Composition A has taken all the burn out and put in a couple of more Sushis here. And those will be kind of sitting ducks against the 4 Disenchants, because there aren't that many targets for Disenchants. So yeah, I believe Composition A will be quite will be weaker than it normally is against this particular brew, whereas it is stronger against control. But yeah, let's go over the matchup real quick. Now, I have experience with the quick-white-weenie setup, and I know it's not to be underestimated. The first tournament I attended back in '94, I used only the quick-white-weenie setup, and I actually won the first one. I even attended with that. It was unpowered as well, so it does pack a punch. The main thing about the quick-white-weenie deck is that unlike other aggro types of decks, it doesn't usually run out of steam as fast as they do, because usually with an aggro deck like this, you will dominate the early game with a lot of fast little critters, do a bunch of damage, and then the other guy will stabilize and you'll have a bit of a problem, right? And then you can use burn to finish him off, or other perhaps removal to get in. And quick-white does have Swords to Plowshares to try to get in, but it also has Crusades and Castle and stuff like that, and that's like a huge creature power amplifier for this deck, because in the mid to late game its creatures will change from being critters into sort of like mid-range creatures when its White Knights goes from 2/2 to 3/3, 4/4 and 5/5 the more Crusades you get out, and suddenly you have a mid-range deck where everything just costs a very cheap amount of mana, so you won't draw as much, but even drawing a small little critter and getting it out, it'll be so boosted by the Crusades and Castle that it'll just be a huge creature getting out each turn. And then of course it has the Armageddons just to finish the game off, because it can function very, very well with only a couple of planes out. That's all it needs, really. And then it also, the quick-white archetype has a lot of banding in its deck, and that makes it gives it a better game against mid-range, right? Because it can gang up on like a juzam and then use banding, so that the juzam will only do damage to one little critter, and then you'll just punch the big guy down. It also works well against berserks and trample, because you can actually block a berserking creature just with a 1/1 banding creature, and then you can make all the berserk damage go into your 1/1 instead of trampling over, because you as the controller of the banding creature choose where the damage goes. So yeah, it does have game against mid-range, which is ordinarily a matchup that is usually a bit of a problem for aggro. Now, Composition A, sometimes I use, back in the day, I used quick-white to stress test Composition A, and it had a good game against it, because when you have like both lightning bolts and Swords to Plowshares, you can bolt at block, for example, so that'll kind of negate his banding, and Composition A had so much removal that I could usually win the creature game before quick-white got all its Crusades out, because paradoxically, even though it is an aggro deck, you're also playing against time, because you don't want too many Crusades out or he will outclass your creatures. But Composition A has disenchants as well, so that helps. But in this version of Composition A, I'm not so sure about the creature matchup here, because I don't have the lightning bolts anymore. I have extra sushis, as previously mentioned. But I might have to go a different route here, and there are different ways to skin a cat, as the saying goes. In my experience, when an aggro deck has been tweaked for a lot of time and has become very efficient, it has usually run down to very, very few lands in its deck, because it can usually function as said with 2 colored mana, and then it's off to the races. It doesn't really want to draw more than that, because all you want to draw after the opening hand is usually just creatures upon creatures upon creatures, and perhaps a bit of removal. It's the same thing that we saw in the matchup against Mono Green Stumpy, same thing there. That also means that it can be a giant on clay feet if you really focus on destroying the colored mana. You can really sometimes topple the entire construction, because he won't draw that much colored mana. So I think that will be the game plan here. Now, against this archetype, that is a very risky game plan, because he also plays with Armageddons and sometimes even land tags, and that will make all your sinkhole work for naught when he just equalizes with an Armageddon, or just plays a land tags, and yeah, then nothing really matters, no matter how many sinkholes you have. But we'll try. I mean, without lightning bolts and fireballs, I can't really let him get too much stuff out. If he gets all his creatures out and Crusades out, he will very easily overpower Composition A when I don't have the extra burn and removal that I usually pack. So let's brace for the quarterfinals here. We've come to destroy planes and chew bubble gum, and we are all out of gum. And we have quick-white on the left here and me on the right. This is the hand of him. 1 plains, disenchant, Benevolent Hero, Sarah Angel, Armageddon, a white knight it seems, and another disenchant. I don't think we're gonna see my hand. I'm much too focused on this game, I guess. I don't know. Sol Ring coming out, Black Lotus. Good start from composition A here. Cracking the Black Lotus and Time Twister. Yeah, so I talked about this move in the matchup against the Dead Guy Ale. I think I put the Time Twister back in the library. That was a mistake. I hope I rectify this. Anyway, the plan here is even more the mana starvation strategy, right? Because he can't mulligan the next hand, so he might be mana starved and nothing he can do. Also, it provides me a 2-card advantage here. Okay, I put out the Time Twister there, luckily. Okay, Mox Pearl coming out. Then passing the turn back to him. He has 1 plains and 1 factory in hand. Now, I'll likely try to ignore the factory, actually. Chaos Orb coming out. Now attacking with the factory for a couple of points of damage. Oh yeah, look at that card. That's his life points. And that Strip Mine was his prize for winning the best unpowered deck of the tournament. He is the only unpowered deck in the top 8. Pikeman coming out here. 1/1 first strike banding. First creature out of quick-white. So now the snowball starts rolling here, right? Demonic Tutor here. We'll cut a bit forward while I shuffle through the deck. I can't remember what I took here. Oh wait, maybe I can. Anyway, time to implement the plan. Cracking his plains, ignoring the factory. Now against a deck that doesn't really use any mana, let's first of all see if it hits. It's always a bit of a drama. Here we go. It's a hit. Yeah, but it can look really odd to do this against a deck that has like a 2 mana cost mana curve here. But it's just to hold him back and to try to really pressure his colored mana. We will ignore the colorless mana here. Now he comes in for 1 point of damage. And I think it's all about getting the steam out of his opening hand here. I just need to survive the early game and get rid of those Crusades. Now mind twisting him for 4 cards here, getting a bunch of creatures. And he can't really play them because the plains is gone. I mean, he is really unlucky here because he should at least draw some plains. I mean, he only has the factory and that's useless for him when that's all he has. Activating the factory and punching in. Juzams coming out. Still no mana. I mean, this is really unlucky for him. Even though he doesn't play a lot of plains, this is not how it should be. I mean, he should get a few plains at least. What's this? Giving it a good think here. Still, I don't think I'll touch that factory. I'm keeping the sinkholes back to if he draws a plane. Another Juzams coming out. Yeah, that's too much. 12 points of damage that game. So composition A takes the first one here. Bit of dirty fighting at this point, but that's what composition A can do sometimes. It can roll with different strategies. This time it used a lane destruction route, and I have put in the fourth sinkhole here. Just going all in on this strategy. I don't know what he's put in. Likely the Spirit Links and the City in a Bottle, right? Okay, he starts off with a couple of planes in hand at least here. So that's better. This is round number 2 and he's on the play. He has a White Knight as well. That will be very, very good against me. Sorcerer Plagias. Yeah, he's packing a good hand here. No need to mulligan. Mr. Pegasus. Oh, strip mining the planes. Oh, and then do some turn 1. The Black Lotus. he immediately just source to plowshares it. But worth a try, right? Underground C, pass the turn. He only has a single plains at this point. Hypnotic Spectre coming out. Oh, Pendelhaven. Into a Mesa Pegasus. Now, if you can untap that Pendelhaven, he can pump the Pegasus to become a 2/3 creature, and it'll kill the Hypnotic Spectre. So I'm straight up Source to Plowsharing before I can pump it. Also, to get in, I want to nick cards from his hand. Same strategy as before. We need to make him discard a bunch of his opening hand, because that's where most of the danger lies against the quick-white. Getting out a pikeman. Now look, if he had 2 plains and a Pendelhaven here, he could cast all he needed. He has a White Knight, he has Crusades. He could cast 1 each turn, but now he's a bit disrupted here. Ignoring the Pendelhaven, cracking the plains again. Getting the White Knight with the Hypnotic Spectre. He should take 2 points of damage. Okay, yeah, there we go. Now, he has a Library of Alexandria. We'll ignore that, I think, because it's colorless mana. So he comes in with the pikeman, pumping it with the Pendelhaven for 2 points of damage here. And we punch right back. He can't play anything from his hand. Getting the Disenchant. Not the best pick, but whatever. Sushi coming down. Oh, it was nice to get rid of the Disenchant then. Still no planes. We see such a greedy mana base can really be punished, because it's designed that he could function just as well now with 4 mana and 2 planes out. But with 0 planes, it's just a gridlock. Quick-white just shuts down here. Sushi coming out. Another pikeman, he can't even play it. Armageddon, Crusade, passing the turn. 2 Sushis and a Hypnotic Spectre coming in. He forfeits the game. And I had a Source of Plowshares in hand. So yeah, as I said, a bit of a dirty fighting here. I think that was the way to go. Because the very, very best aggro decks usually have evolved a very tight and greedy mana base with very few colored mana. Of course, I couldn't know if he played with lane tech, so it was a risk to take here. It looks decidedly more one-sided than it could have been. He's taking out his castle and his Knights of Thorn. Knights of Thorn has protection from red. Likely put in the City in a Bottle, or City in a Bottle and a Spirit Link. There's 1 City in a Bottle. Okay, 2 cities in a bottle, makes perfect sense. But he never got to play them. So, Composition A takes the quarterfinals, 2-0, going the land destruction route here, onwards to the semifinals. But it could have gone very easily the other way if he had been allowed to just get his stuff out. So, yeah, I'll catch you in the semifinals.